In this video, I am putting the newly released GPT 5.3 Codex to the test in a new benchmark that I am calling BridgeBench. BridgeBench is going to put GPT 5.3 Codex to the test from giving it tasks like building an FPS game inside one prompt to building the Windows 10 interface all in one shot. If you guys would like to check out the prompts that I'm going to be using in BridgeBench and even test it out yourself, you can just go to BridgeMind.ai and go to BridgeBench. There'll be a link to this down in the description below, but you'll be able to actually see and copy the prompts that I'm using for this test that you're going to see in this video. Before we get too deep into the video, we are only 25 members away from hitting 5,000 members in the BridgeMind Discord community. So if you guys are watching and have not already joined the fastest growing vibe coding community on the internet right now, make sure you check out the link in the description below and join the BridgeMind Discord community. Also, I do have a 200 like goal on this video. So if you guys haven't already liked the video or subscribed and turned on post notifications, make sure you do so. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. Let's now open up BridgeSpace, which is the ADE, the agent development environment that we've been working on that's going to ship in the next week or so. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up a new workspace in the BridgeBench directory. So let's go over to my desktop and let's select BridgeBench, and we're going to launch 6 Codex agents inside of this workspace. So I just select the directory, I select how many terminals I want to open up, and I select which AI agent I actually want to use. And now I'm going to create this new workspace, and just like that, we have 6 Codex agents that are ready to go. So I'm actually going to close one of these because we only have 5 prompts here, so we need 5 Codex agents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a quick prompt, and I'm gonna at the prompt 1, and I'm just going to say, I want you to work inside of the GPT 5.3 Codex directory and complete this project. Okay, so we're going to input this prompt, and we're going to use this same exact prompt. I just used, that was Bridge Voice that I'm using for my my prompt there. That's another product in the BridgeMind suite of vibe coding tools that we have releasing. So we're just going to add all of these prompts that are in the BridgeBench and paste in the same exact prompt here. And we're going to do number 4 now. So it's prompt number 4, and it is now prompt number 5. So here we are. We have all of these ready to go, and just like that, let's just submit all of these. They're all in extra high. They're all going to work in the GPT 5.3 Codex directory, and we're going to let these work because, as you guys know, one thing about GPT models is that they are a little bit slower. They think for longer, especially when you're in this extra high mode. So we are using GPT 5.3 Codex extra high for this. But while these actually work, you can see that each of them are working in their respective directories here. But what I want to do now is I actually want to take a look at the benchmarks while these are working that OpenAI released when they released GPT 5.3, because I think that benchmarks are a very valuable thing to look at for us to understand what this model's capabilities are. So while these all work and give us a good look of what this model is capable of, let's now take a look at the benchmarks while these complete in the background. All right, so one very important thing that you guys need to know is that GPT 5.3 Codex released the same day as Opus 4.6 did. They basically released this at the same time for competition's sake so that people would be able to be like, oh, which one's better, right? Now, a lot of people are saying that GPT 5.3 is better, but one thing to know is that GPT 5.3 Codex is not available via the API. You can only use this inside of OpenAI's Codex right now. So if you're using the Codex CLI, you can use GPT 5.3. That's the only place that you can use it right now. So it is a little bit unfortunate because we also cannot see GPT 5.3 Codex inside of LM Arena. So if we go to LM Arena real quick, because it's not in the API, we are unable to see it inside of the LM Arena. So you can see here, Opus 4.6 is absolutely crushing it on LM Arena at 15 76. So it's dominating GPT 5.2 high. Now, we don't know how that will rack up once GPT 5.3 Codex is actually available inside of the API and is able to be benchmarked on these leaderboards, but Opus 4.6 is actually crushing it. But in terms of GPT 5.3, it's not yet available in the API, so we're unable to see it on the benchmarks. But let's go over here and see the SWE-Bench Pro. So this is how it compares to GPT 5.2 Codex. So you can see that, that's actually a bad chart. Like, here is one that's very, very interesting, the Terminal Bench 2.0. So this is one of the biggest jumps that OpenAI did with this model. So you can see that on the Terminal Bench, it jumped from 64% in GPT 5.2 Codex to 77.3% with GPT 5.3 Codex, which is actually a huge jump, and it does beat out Opus 4.6 in the Terminal Bench by quite a bit. So that is a big deal for us as people that are using CLI tools. So here's a little example that they gave on what the capabilities are of these differences. So they basically gave it the same prompt. So interesting there to be able to see that. But let's check it out down here. OS World Verified, you can see a huge jump there. So that is an agentic computer use benchmark where the agent has to complete productivity tasks in a virtual desktop computer environment. So this is one thing that I want to, kind of highlight here because I've talked about it a little bit on stream, but I think that computer use is going to start to become a bigger deal in 2026. We saw that with Claudebot or OpenClaw coming out and people using it for computer use. So that's big as well. It saw a huge jump there. They have a lot of text here. Can we get, okay, here we go. Finally, in the appendix, we have some of the information here. So one thing to note, and this came with both the Opus 4.6 drop as well as the GPT 5.3 drop. In both of these models, we did not see a significant improvement in the SWE-Bench marks. So this is the SWE-Bench Pro benchmark, but you can see that it hardly improved from GPT 5.2 to GPT 5.3. We saw a 0.4% improvement on the SWE-Bench Pro. Now, on the Terminal Bench, we saw a huge improvement, which is great. And in these other areas, we also saw a pretty big improvement. But, with SWE-Bench Pro and SWE-Bench Verified, which is also an important benchmark, we're not really seeing the massive jumps that we saw, for example, from Opus 4.1 to Opus 4.6. There was a huge jump in capability. Same thing from GPT 5 to what we now have, GPT 5.3, a pretty large jump in coding capabilities. But this just seems like a very small iteration when you're actually looking at the benchmarks. But I will say, after having used the model for hours and hours and hours on end, I will say that small jump, that small iteration has made a difference, as well as some of the other improvements in the models. In my personal workflow, I have noticed it one-shot things that I've been struggling on doing with the previous models, GPT 5.2 or even Opus 4.5. I did notice that GPT 5.3 was able to one-shot things that it was not able to do before. So I will say that, but that's one thing I want to highlight is that in terms of the benchmarks and the coding benchmarks, we're not seeing some massive jump with 5.3 or Opus 4.6 for that matter, but specifically with 5.3, we're seeing only a 0.4% increase here. So not going to be a massive improvement in coding capabilities, but still a small improvement. So maybe that small improvement helps us do a lot. So that's the benchmarks. That's what you guys need to know. Just to summarize, not super big jumps in coding, but some pretty big jumps in other areas like the Terminal Bench 2.0 and OS World Verified. So those are some pretty impressive jumps, but coding, not that great. But with that being said, let's go check up on our coding agents and see if they're done yet. All right, so all of our agents have now finished working. So just as a reminder, we are building an FPS game, a Windows 10 interface, the flight simulator, and Bridge Trade stock app, as well as a new BridgeMind landing page. So let's actually now pull these up and see what was created, starting with the new Windows 10 interface, which was created by ChatGPT. GPT 5.3 Codex. So here we are. So we have a Windows interface. Let's just click around a little bit. Let's check out the command prompt and see if this works. So let's do an ls. So we have desktop. Let's cd to our desktop. That's interesting. Okay, so let's cd out. So how can we, so this looks like it works. The command prompt works. It looks like we have a calculator. Does the calculator work? Let's do 6 times 7 equals, okay, 42. Okay, so that looks like it works. You can see the calculator, when I dismiss it, it stays down here. If I close it, it gets removed. That looks nice. What's this? This is a notepad. Hello there. Can I save this? Let's see if I can actually save this. Let's save as, and we'll save it to, let's save it in our desktop, and we'll just title it test. And if this shows up on our desktop, that's actually interesting, which it doesn't look like it does. So it looks like we just saved it, but it didn't actually save. Let's see File Explorer, and oh, here's test, and here's hello there. Oh wow, okay. So it did do that correctly. There's the test. Now, for some reason, it doesn't actually show up on my desktop here. Can I drag and drop this into other? Okay, I can't drag and drop. Can I just, okay, I can delete these. I can rename them. And remember, this is just in a simple HTML file. So I was able to do all of this in one shot. If I go to my recycle bin, here's what that looks like. You can see that that test.txt TXT that I had was now moved to the recycling bin. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Microsoft Edge, I mean, I don't think that this is going to work because it's just, it's in a HTML file. So yeah, it's not going to work. So that's decent. Now photos, what is up with this? Photos is all right. Control panel. Here's everything in the control panel. Can I actually change this to, oh wow. Okay, so I can adjust the taskbar color. I can adjust the window color, which is pretty cool. I can turn on dark mode, light mode. I mean, like, this is like pretty basic in my opinion. You know, it's all right. You can adjust the brightness, resolution. I don't notice any difference with the resolution. But settings is interesting. Paint, can we paint? We can paint, so that's cool. And remember, you know, this is all in just one shot. We can erase, we can fill, green, lines, rectangle. I mean, this is, wow, this is pretty cool. So that does work. Now with this, I mean, I guess this is all the functionality that it has. So if we do the windows, like, here's what it has. The weather, I doubt that the weather works. Yeah, so, I mean, this is just in a basic HTML, but it did do a decent job. I mean, it's got the time correct. You can see it down here, 11:03/27/2026. It's got the Wi-Fi. I don't think it's actually connected to my Wi-Fi, but we can adjust the volume, battery. There's not actually any battery, but I mean, for a one shot, this is okay. Obviously, you can see like it's not like, I mean, it's not Windows 10, but you know, it did a pretty good job for one prompt. So I would give this maybe like a 6 out of 10. You can move everything around. I don't know what else you guys would like to see, but I mean, it did build the Windows 10 interface. Not exactly Windows 10, but definitely was able to build something pretty unique here that reflects Windows 10. So I would give it a 6 out of 10. All right, the next thing that I want to test out is this FPS game. So first of all, okay, so it's called Neon Breach. Browser FPS built with a pure JavaScript raycasting engine. Controls are WASD, mouse look, shift, sprint, 1, 2, 3, switch weapon, R to reload, left click to fire. Okay, so let's go and first of all, like, I do want to pull up cursor and I want to see how many agents, how many lines of code did these agents actually create. So for the Windows interface, let's see this. So that did, the one shot for the Windows 10 interface was 5,308 lines of code. For this FPS game, it's only 1,623. So let's click to start. So let's just mouse look, shift to sprint, 1 to 3, switch weapon. Okay, let's start. So one, whoa. Okay, first of all, there's a map in the left corner here. There's you can see the map in the top left corner here. Oh, am I taking damage? Oh shoot, I'm literally taking damage right now. Okay, first of all, the styling isn't that great. What is this? Okay, shotgun shells. How do I get a gun out? How do I shoot? Oh. Okay, so I'm shooting, but I'm also getting hit. Am I getting killed? What? How am I getting? Okay, game over. Enemies killed. I survived for 29 seconds. Accuracy was 17%. Let's restart. Okay, so this is actually like not that good. So shotgun shells. I can't even shoot. I'm doing. Okay, wait, hold up. Oh, whoa. Okay, so I think I did shoot it. Okay, so I'm sprinting. I'm pressing shift. Okay, I think was that me killing it? Okay, I think that was me killing it. Okay. I mean, the graphics are horrible. The animation's not good. There's health over here. I mean, there's a map in the upper left-hand corner. The styling that it did, like the spacing that you guys see, not good. They're also like, I just don't even understand. Like, it just wasn't very creative, if I'm being completely honest. Like, hey, the map is nice. There's like a ton of people over here. Can I like get over here? Okay. I mean, there's no animations. There's like, I wish there would be like some sort of, okay, it's reloading my shotgun, so reloading works. Okay. Oh. I mean, I wish there was like some type of, you know, gunshots or something like that. Here's health. Here's, what is this? Machine ammo. How do I, okay. Okay, I switched my machine gun. Oh, whoa. Okay, game over. We survived for 79.5 seconds. Apparently, my accuracy was 217%. So, I don't know. I would give this like a 2 out of 10. This was not very good. And, you know, this could go back to our system prompt that we gave it. And just that it was maybe like misunderstood our system prompt. But you can look at this and like, obviously, the animations and what it created here, not super impressed by what it did. So that could tie back to our system prompt. We may need to, you know, update that system prompt for future BridgeBench tests, but I am not impressed with what Codex did here. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10. All right, the next thing that I want to check out is the front-end styling. So this is the remake of the BridgeMind website that it made. So, you know, one thing that GPT models have been notoriously bad at has been styling. Now, as I've used GPT 5.3 Codex in the past couple days, I will say that when given the correct information and prompts, it has been doing a much better job than what we had with like GPT 5 for sure. But what I will say with this is it's not that great what it created here. I mean, let's try shrinking this. How's the, I mean, I would say that the responsiveness is actually pretty good. Like the responsiveness and spacing is pretty good. It could do a couple things better, like maybe making those buttons not wrap and just making them, you know, compact a little bit more and adjust to the screen size. But overall, definitely better than what we've seen with previous GPT models. I will say that, hey, with like one shot with no styling guide, it's doing a pretty decent job. It just created this landing page, I believe. Yeah, like all these buttons will just link to different parts of that page. So I would give this a 4 out of 10. I'm not super impressed by like the background gradients. Like this is like kind of your standardized AI look. I don't feel like this is really unique. You know, sometimes when you're using Gemini 3 Pro, you can get these really unique UIs. But with GPT, I would say that it didn't do a great job on this. Now, with that, I will say, like, for example, with Bridge Voice, I was having GPT 5.3 Codex make a couple updates to Bridge Voice, and all the UI that you guys see here, like even like these theme changes and whatnot, these were all made by GPT 5.3 Codex, and this one had a little bit more of a structured styling in place to begin with. And GPT 5.3 did do a really good job making it like very uniform. So that's just one example that I will show you, like from my personal work, when you're actually using 5.3 in practice and you're giving it the correct style guides and you're giving it the correct references and you're prompting it really well. 5.3 can do a really good job at improving your styling. It definitely did in the case of Bridge Voice here. But for just a one shot, like off rip, just singular prompt, not super impressed with this one. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 for the styling on this website with one shot. Now for another cool one, let's go to the flight simulator. So here it is, the flight simulator. So it says procedural terrain, full flight model, dynamic weather, and waypoint challenge. So to pitch, okay, so it's WASD. So pitch, roll, we can do rolls, A, arrow left, down, arrow right, okay. Rudder, so there's some actually some decent, so it's a throttle, shift up, control down, camera, chase, cockpit. Okay, so let's try this. So camera, C, chase, / cockpit. Okay, whoa. Okay. All right, so here is the look here. So let's try moving around a little bit. Okay, so first of all, whoa, Codex, what are you doing? Okay, so one thing I will say is we are completely inverted. I mean, I don't know if this is like straight out of Flight, if you guys have seen that movie, but I don't know why the mountains are above us, but that does not look right. There's the weather change, there's the daylight change. So Control C is going to change the view here. You can see that we have like an altitude checker over in the top left. What is that? It's VSI, waypoints. I have a buddy that's a flight. He is an airline pilot, so he may understand how to fly planes. I personally don't. But when you're in this mode, it looks like it's man. There's like a lot of glitches with this. This is not smooth at all. Let's go back to here, and we're like literally in the Matrix right now. We're in a bunch of green. Very glitchy. There are like some interesting things like on the left and right. I mean, it is like looks like a flight simulator, but why are the mountains in the sky? Why am I in a green blob? I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 10. This is not good. We may want to at some point adjust the prompts to be a little bit less specific and maybe let Codex have its way with it. So let's actually try that. So we're going to give this a shot. We're going to try and rebuild this flight simulator, but rather than giving it such a distinguished particular prompt, we're just going to give it something basic. Here, let's X out. Let's pause this real quick, and let's actually pull BridgeSpace back up. And what I want to do is let's actually launch a new workspace inside of, let's pull back BridgeBench up, and let's just launch a singular Codex instance in this workspace. And what I want to do is I'm going to just give it this prompt. I want you to create a new flight simulator that does not follow the README or the prompt in the existing flight simulator. This is to be a completely newly invented flight simulator. All I want you to do is create a flight sim that is simple and accurate and allows me to fly around a map in a plane. Okay, let's just try that, and we'll see if that's a little bit better, and we'll see if it, using its creativity, if maybe the system prompts that we're giving it is actually causing it to like hallucinate. So we'll let it kind of be a little bit more creative on its own, and we'll give it less of like specific instructions that we want it to follow, and we'll more so just kind of let it run and do its own thing. So let's say I want you to put the code in a flight sim2.html file. Okay, so we're going to give this, and then we're going to review the stock trading application that it made, and we'll let this one work, and then we'll come back to this and finish off the video with a review of this. But so far, with that existing flight simulator, yeah, this is not good. This was not good. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. Literally, the mountains are in the sky. Yeah, 2 out of 10. All right, so here is Bridge Trade. So this is what it created for basically the prompt that was requesting it to create a website where I would get real-time stock analytics and be able to see like stock market prices and stuff. And right off the bat, I'm gonna say like this is a pretty big fail. And I'll show you why. Like, hey, like this is not the price of Apple. It's updating live. It's literally Saturday right now, so I don't know why it's actively updating. So obviously, this does not connect with like any free, there's like a bunch of free APIs that you can integrate with. So I don't know why Codex wasn't intuitively able to search that up, identify, what it would be able to do to build this, and then be able to build that in. So that's a little bit discouraging there. And then in terms of the styling, like this just has absolutely zero creativity at all. It tried to create like some logo that looks bad. So I'm going to give this a 1 out of 10. I think this is a complete fail on this prompt. Yeah, that's not good. We're going to give this a 1 out of 10, but let's go check back out on the flight simulator and see how it did. All right, so here's the conversation for the flight simulator. So this actually completed very quickly. So this one ran, and it only created, let's see here. So this one was 721 lines of HTML. And it was able to only work, it didn't work for very long. So let's like compare that first off with the other that it created, right? So let's go here. You can see this flight simulator, the one that it created initially, this one was 2,500 lines. So this one, was 2,500 lines, about what, close to like 3.5 times larger. Let's now go and let's do Flight Sim 2 and go to Flight Sim 2 here. And let's see, what is this? Whoa, oh my gosh. Okay, so this one, yeah, so this one, I don't even know what that is. All right, that is not good. Okay, so this one gave us a different approach. It gave us a different look, and I don't even know what I'm looking at here. This one's like really bad. So, yeah, I mean, I would say this is obviously a 1 out of 10 as well. So I don't know if we could potentially be making, sorry, I'm just with the OBS, but I don't know if we can make our BridgeBench better to really be putting these to the test. But I just wanted to put GPT 5.3 to the test with some like system prompts to be able to test, like, okay, in one shot, what is it able to create in terms of like the Windows interface. But in practice, when I've been using GPT 5.3 in my normal workflow, like you can even see this here, it has been able to do a very good job in creating real SaaS products for me. And the styling, I have found that the styling is a little bit more creative. I think that for us to be able to look at like some of these things, like these here, these sections here on my website about bridge code and about the BridgeMind MCP and about the BridgeSpace, the agent development environment, and Bridge Voice, these were created using Codex. So I think that for styling and when we're actually applying it, it's like, hey, when you're actually using the tools in practice, it is a little bit different than just saying, hey, go build a flight simulator in one shot, right? It's like, I think that, I think it'll be nice to have some type of bridge bench, and I want to build this out. Maybe the community can help as we create some better system prompts to be putting these different models to the test. But I think this was just a fun way to be able to put it to the test. But all in all, some of these things that Codex created, I'm actually like not super impressed with, right? I mean, the best thing that it created was that Windows interface, and then like some of this stuff just wasn't that good, right? So I don't know how I feel about that. I think that with Opus 4.6 with a 1M context window, there's going to be room for both in our workspace and our workflows, right? But I will say this styling that it did here, I really liked it, and I think it did a good job. Like even like, hey, the Bridge Voice tab here, right? Like I had it create a BridgeMind theme. And what's really cool about this is like, you can see when I hover over this, now it's that BridgeMind gold, right? So I just thought that was cool. Like it did a good job like picking up on like really, unique details like that, as well as like, building stuff like this collapse feature, like, right? Like that looks really good. And hey, the real state of software development when you're using vibe coding and using AI models to help you is that it's not a one shot. A lot of people think about vibe coding. They think, oh, like the AI models can't, it can't create a flight simulator in one shot, or it can't create, the Windows 10 interface in one shot. But really, like what people are using vibe coding for right now, or at least what I'm using vibe coding for right now, is you build and then you iterate, right? So you actually get the products working, right? And you kind of just go one step at a time, and you slowly iterate and improve coding with the AI models via vibe coding, but then you ultimately get something like Bridge Voice, or you get something like BridgeSpace, which is a great product, right? And these products are going to be launching soon. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to start to build out something like the BridgeBench. I don't know how I feel about these initial 5 prompts that I tested with it. I may want to change that over time. But I think that with GPT 5.3, it's not like a substantial improvement in coding, right? Like we saw that with the benchmarks, but even here, like, hey, you have a flight simulator, right? And the mountains are in the sky, right? And then you have a FPS game, and there's no animations for the bullets, and there's no like animations for the characters when you actually shoot them to like show it that you actually like killed them or whatever, right? So it's like, there's certain details in intuition that GPT 5.3 Codex it does not have, that may need some coaxing from the developer, right? And that's why, hey, that when you are vibe coding, it's very important that you need to understand, hey, AI is just an extension of the developer. So if you understand these different concepts and you're able to prompt it correctly, then you're going to be able to use a model like 5.3 that will do a good job for you. Now, one thing I will say that I did notice during this test is that these prompts actually finished relatively quickly. Like right here, this wrote 4,338 lines of code here in HTML to build, what was this? This was the bridge trade, right? And it did do it in like less than 10 minutes. So I think that the substantial improvement that we're seeing is like, I think that I am seeing a speed up with 5.3. Now, this could be because they switched and they partnered with Cerebrus, and now they have better and higher, faster inference. But I will say that I definitely have noticed a speed increase. I also have noticed some other intuitive things, such as it being able to run terminal commands a little bit better and being able to work and launch different subagents. You can see that this one, worked for another 3 minutes on doing a final polish pass before it, it did this polished pass. So, there's certain things, and it's right there. Sorry about that. So, there's certain things that I'm seeing with this model that are definitely an improvement that like, hey, I'm happy that we have the model, but this model is not the substantial jump that we've seen with other models. For example, like moving from O3 to GPT 5, right? Like that was a substantial jump, or 4.0 to O1. That was another substantial jump that OpenAI did, right? So I'm more looking forward to the next iteration of whatever they come out with, whether it's GPT 6 or GPT 5.3, because we didn't see that substantial jump in the coding index. And that's really what we need to look at is, hey, SWE-Bench Pro, SWE-Bench Verified, these are the coding benchmarks that we need to be looking at. But I will say, obviously, it's a slight improvement. It is a speed up. I'm going to be using Codex more in my workflow. I did purchase the ChatGPT Pro plan for $200 a month. So, sometimes I think that people are asking the question, they're saying, hey, which model is better, Opus models or, ChatGPT or, GPT models, which one's better? And there's not really a right answer to that, right? Like, I think that you just have to know that, hey, GPT models are going to be a little bit slower. They're going to think for longer. Opus models may write a little bit better code. I mean, people have so many different perspectives on it. Opus may be a little bit better at styling. Opus may, do it fast, but, not get it right on the first try. But I have had better experience with Claude models just in general. And I think with Opus 4.6 with the 1 million context, I'm kind of looking at that one as that's probably going to be my go-to for a little bit. But GPT 5.3 is like right up there. So even though people are like, it's not like, oh, one or the other, it's more of like, for me personally, I like Claude models a little bit better than OpenAI models. But with this, I'm gonna, like, if I'm struggling with a task with Claude, I'm gonna throw it at OpenAI's GPT 5.3 and see what it does, and that's gonna be my personal workflow. But there's a whole bunch of different perspectives that people could have on that. But yes, I definitely think that there's an improvement here, and especially, like I said, when I used it in my workflows, I did see the improvement, especially in front-end styling and being able to follow tasks, as well as a pretty significant speed increase. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up the video here so it doesn't get too long. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and make sure you guys like, subscribe, and join the Discord community if you haven't already. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the future.